etc. as my friends. I knew no other friends. I spent most of my time sitting on a mango tree eating mangoes because I was not sent to school. But one day I decided that I'll prove to everybody who condemned me, never take anything. I won't go into the history of, because later if you have time I'll talk more about it. My grandmother was my only support. My parents had abandoned me. And it took a lot of perseverance and courage to reach where I have reached. I started learning English only at the age of 15. I finally went to school where I soon became the captain of the basketball team. A child who was written off as a midget went on to become 5 feet 10 inches tall, taller than all the men in the family. I went on finally to do my master's in English literature, where I was told I won't even be able to speak. And today I work in an organization where I hobnob with every head of state, which includes Clinton, Trump. If you go through my biodata, there is no head of state I haven't. I work for CII, and our job is to work with heads of state and government and top Bill Gates and etc. You name it, Ratan Tata, I work with all of them. It's taken a lot of courage for me to sit across the table and talk to these people. Benazir Bhutto had become a personal friend. For a girl who stammered at the age of 10, couldn't speak 2 words, and spoke only Malayalam, it's taken a lot of courage to sit with heads of state, travel with Yasser Arafat, Prince Charles. I'm not saying all this to boast. I'm telling you, if I can do it, any one of you can do it. Believe me, anyone sitting here can do it, if I can do it. I won't go into details. Later on, when I got married, we had problems again. We were in Liberia, a civil war broke out. My husband was kidnapped, he was shot. I came back with 2 kids, with nothing. From a penthouse, I came down to sleeping in the railway station for 1 month. But my childhood survival instincts and learned to be courageous helped me. I got up and decided I will not give up. So I got up from the railway station. I did not give up with 2 tiny children. And I got a job in CII in the lowest level and reached where I reached today with sheer hard work and courage, because I didn't give up. My husband came back. He's paralyzed. He's been paralyzed for 15 years. I take care of him, but I think it's an honor to take care of him. He's a great man. I'd just like to end by saying that my daughter has written a short story called One Tea Bag, and I'll tell you why it's called One Tea Bag. Because when we were caught up in Liberia, in the Civil War, airports were closed, shops were closed, my husband was kidnapped, and we were in the penthouse, and soon there was no food to eat. Finally, we found 1 tea bag in the kitchen. And we dipped the tea bag for 10 days, the same tea bag, with 2 packets of biscuits we survived. So today I value even a tea bag. I know that tea bag kept us alive. I value a morsel of food I eat. I value the clothes I wear, because I've gone without it all for some time. So my friends, all I can tell you is, if you have the courage, you have the woman Nari Shakti inside you, you know you can't believe the strength that a woman has inside her. You can't believe it. It's only when you're in adversity that strength will come out. You have 2 choices. Either you give it up, or the feminine strength inside me helped me to be what I am today. Today I travel the world, I meet the who is who. I could have given up at the railway station and jumped under a train. Fingers were pointed at me. Short of calling me a whore, they called me everything under the sun. A woman who doesn't know where her husband is, who has no clothes to wear, who's living in a railway station in the ladies' waiting room. You know, Indian society is quick to point fingers at her. I suppose any society, but more so in India. A woman can be condemned very easily in India. but don't give up. Show the world you can do it. I showed the world I can do it. I have two more beautiful speakers here with me today who are also going to give you their experiences, their life. Then we throw it open to the audience, and if there's anyone in the audience who would like to share their life, please feel free. And if any of you feel motivated right now? Anybody? You do. Anybody else? You do. I have a young man there who heard my previous talk, and he's also a basketball player like me. Thank you for coming. And he told me how motivated he felt, because I was also a basketball player. And finally, thank you all for coming. May I request you to please take on. I'll be back here again with you. Meanwhile, please think of what you would like to talk to us, to the three of us, and how we can make this a very interactive session. And I want each one of you to go out from this room feeling this much more motivated and the desire to live than you felt when you came in. That desire that you have it in you. And never give up, never say die. That's my motto. I want it to be your motto also. Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. I mean, I experienced a few things like that in a completely different circumstances and so forth. But my question for you is, what motivated you? So, what motivated you or keeps you going?
Now or then?
Then.
Okay, what motivated me then? 2, 3 things. One, two small children, when I saw the look on their face, especially my daughter, I said, I cannot. My daughter had gone through, she was only 4 years old, and she had lived on that one tea bag along with me. We both used to share that one tea bag. So she has seen that. She has seen living in a penthouse. She has seen coming back and sleeping in the railway station. Another thing I learned in life is when you are rich, and NRI, the whole world is there for you. They'll receive you at the airport, they'll call you to their house, but suddenly when you lose everything, there are very few people to help you. Believe me. Even your own relatives will look the other way. The people who helped me then, I am eternally grateful to them. So, the look. The second thing is, one day, I had just got my job, and in those days I had to keep going to all these political leaders, ministers' houses. I used to come out at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the night because I was so afraid of job. And somebody, a colleague commented, I overheard a colleague saying, oh, look at her. She doesn't know where her husband is. She's just going to all these places. Maybe she is sleeping her way around to the top. I heard this, and flames came out of my ears. And I decided I will show her that I can do it. And I did it. Today she works under me. And she has apologized. She literally worships me now, that's another. But she has apologized. All those who pointed fingers at me have apologized today. Because I said I will show society that I can do it.
Ma'am, you should have rather thanked her.
I give a bit positive way of looking at it. Yes, I think you're so right. Maybe today, tomorrow I go to office like that. That one comment I overheard. I decided I'm not going to let the world bog me down. And over that, I know Danya will agree with me. She's also from Kerala, I don't know which community. I come from a matrilineal community. Do you? I'll end with this. I come from a community, probably the only matrilineal community in the whole world, where I take my mother's name. I don't take my father's name. Children take the woman's name. The woman is the head of the family. So a lot of womanly strength is given to us, even though my childhood like that. My grandmother instilled so much of strength. She said, you're a girl, you can't give up. It's not that you're a boy, it was because I'm a girl. Because the head of the family was my grandmother, not my grandfather. And in our Nair society, are you also from the same society? So you know what. In our Nair society, if we don't have a daughter, our lineage doesn't continue. Like in the North Indian community, you need a son. But for us, the daughter inherits the Title. My name is Shubha Rajan Thampi. I'm not boasting again. Thampi is the so-called royal family of Travancore. I come from the Travancore royal. In spite of coming from the royal family, I slept in the railway station. That's a different question. Life takes you to different things. And what I'd like to tell you is coming from a matrilineal community. And you know why we have this? I wish it could be adopted all over the world. When a child is born, maternity is a certainty. Paternity is only a possibility. You agree?
Yes.
Everybody knows who your mother is. Nobody is sure who your father is. I'm sure the men don't like it. He's got such a scowl on his face. You, sir, where are you from?
U.S.
US, okay. Because in African countries, this is followed by some the matriarchal system. I've lived in Africa, that's all I know.
I wish it was there all over India.
I wish it's all over the world.
All over the world.
That a girl should take her mother's name and not her father's name.
Yeah.
It would make the world a much
Different lives, yes.
And when a girl is born in our family, we rejoice. When a boy is born, it's okay. We need a girl to continue the... It's exactly the opposite of North India. So these are some of the reasons that I was doing. Okay, thank you.
And brisk story to begin this courageous lecture workshop. I wanted to be as interactive as Shubham mentioned. My name is Kamila Sultanova. I'm originally from Uzbekistan, and I have lived half of my life abroad. First in the United States as a teenager, as an exchange student. Then I spent 12 years in Denmark, happiest country in the world, but the most difficult one for immigrants to live in, and 4 years in Finland, also another happy country in the world, which is just being proclaimed, but also I would say quite an interesting society to live in if you are with a person with the color of my skin. So I want to take you on a quick journey of what courage tastes like, and I don't want to talk about my story. I want to first ask you 10 seconds to think, who or when was the first time you felt, that was my step of facing courage? Just take 10 seconds and see, was there a person or something that made you feel, yes, that was courage? So with that self-reflection, I want to say what made me feel courageous. I grew up in a family in a very small village in Uzbekistan. It's called Faroestan in some countries because they don't know where it's from, where it is. It was 300 kilometers from Afghanistan border. So on a bad day, I feel, hey, I could just be born in 300 kilometers south, so my life would be even more different. So I'm a positive person by nature, but of course, what my life has been shaped by my childhood, and I think we all have our battles. We all have gone through some struggles. And I grew up in a family where I had to be seen, but not heard. And that has been haunting me. So how do I face courage? How do I take courage and own it in my body, saying that I'm entitled to my own opinion. I'm entitled to my own clothes. I'm entitled to my eyebrows. Do I pluck them or not? Right? And this is some of the things many girls still suffer, that they don't have, they cannot possess their own body. And as a teenager, I was not allowed my personality. I could not be pretty. I could not do hobbies because sunset was the thing I hated most because I had curfew. Girls had to be home by sunset. And that was, for me, growing up with such adversity, in feeling inadequate, that, okay, I don't have hobbies, I feel worthless, and I don't feel ways that make me feel efficient or, personal efficacy. And that gave me the push to say, I'm not going to live in this environment, and I'm going to go out and create it. So for me, one opportunity was to learn English. So what do I do today? That learning English led me to study in USA, and led me to go out from Uzbekistan and experience the world, build my own, make my own mistakes, and that way, for me, courage was the force also to face my inner fears, because I grew up with fear, and on one side is fear and one side is courage, and I think it's gonna be on our lifetime journey and how we face it to really combat your inner self, because I believe for me my inner failure was to listen to fears, then listen to courageous sounds in my heart, in my body. So today, because of all the courageous things I've done, I work for Global Dignity, which is an international NGO initiated by Crown Prince of Norway. We bring courage to the most vulnerable teenagers, 7, 8, 9 graders. We want to give them the taste of courage, that it's okay to make mistakes. We bring them amazing stories of people who have really suffered or have gone through some adversity in their life and really made it. So it's courage that we give to students, power to dream, courage to dream, and to have the self-compassion, because we talk a lot about self-esteem, but the latest research shows that if you have too self-esteem, it's going to backfire you with narcissistic behavior. But self-compassion is a very good equilibrium point where you have your own awareness of your strengths or maybe weaknesses, but it doesn't tip you over on too much of the self-esteem where it becomes negative, so that you become, not you, but some people do get toxic, right? And Arianna Huffington, she said that there is no space for toxic people in her work environment. But how do we do that if you have toxic people in your family? So I had that toxic people in my environment, and I had to leave my family for thousands of kilometers from Uzbekistan when I was a teenager, and had to find myself again in Denmark, which is sometimes making yourself feel inferior just because you look like I do, and you have a Muslim background, you have a girl background from Stan country. Stan means war for them because, Afghanistan. And so there's a lot of stereotypes that I had to break. And with the Global Dignity and NGO, it's one of the ways I give back to the young people today, that they don't have to wait until they reach late 20s to think that, hey, I have a courage inside me, I can face my fears, and I can actually do stuff. And we do it with different workshops, TED Talk-like events, and art exhibitions, promoting in Finland anti-racism, tolerance, and like I said, social justice and self-compassion. What I do as well is to bring courage to teachers. Center of New Education is one of the platforms I support from Finland, as Finland has the best education system in the world, one of the best. We want to give the best know-how of teacher training, what to teach in 21st century, so that the teachers around the world can get the recipes, philosophies, so that they empower their students to be independent, to be courageous, and to be motivated to also empower the rest of the world. So we're not thinking, of course it starts with you, that we want to empower one person at a time, but if I work with Finnish youth, they will be future leaders, that they could come and help Uzbek youth one day. So that way I want to promote humanity, that we have global competencies now. We're so interconnected, like everyone today, on the course of these days, we've been talking with WhatsApp, right? So the connection, the technology, even though alienates us, it also connects us, so I want to focus on the positive sides of it. So my journey to courage and taste courage was helped through volunteering. Volunteering, serving others, because I didn't know who I am. I didn't know what I could do with my life. I was supposed to be married by age 18. That's just normal, right? And normal in countries where, besides maybe not in the West, but so the issue is I had to run away, and I dreamt of career life. I dreamt of flying airplanes and wearing a business suit. And I did all that, but I had to pay the price for the courageous life. I had to live away from my parents. I had to be an immigrant. And living as an immigrant is quite a free life, because you can be anonymous, you can get a discount in a country, and they say, oh yeah, it's okay, you don't know this part of the Danish culture, or it's okay, you don't know this part of Finnish culture. But the missing your country will always be in your heart. So I need to always say that, okay, freedom is my biggest resource. I may not be a millionaire, but I feel millionaire because I have that freedom. And it comes at a price. So the volunteering I did, I started voicing issues of other immigrant women in Denmark and in Finland. I started voicing issues of foreigners who could not get a job in the Danish job market. So I faced people, politicians in the Danish parliament, and I could not think that I could do that because, like, who are you? You're from Uzbekistan. What the hell, you know? But that was also facing my own fear. And one of my best sales psychologists, American writers, Brian Tracy, said, face your fear, and the death of fear will be courage. And that's what I remind myself when I have to go running. I started running to also face my fears. Can I run 5K? Can I run 10K? And I don't come from a sporty family at all. In fact, in Uzbekistan, I wasn't allowed to ride a bicycle because that would make me not a virgin. Because when you ride on the bike, it kind of does something over there. And I had to come to Denmark and ride the bike. That was my first reaction when I landed in Denmark. I was like, wow, girls on bikes. Girls on bikes. So I'm telling you, it's so simple, but the freedom to just do it and not think what the other people will say about you, which kind of becomes your last name. Hey, Camilla, what the other people say about you. You know, we grow up with this kills courage. And so I implore everyone here that whoever is on a journey, whoever in any role, give people, women and boys equally, volunteer opportunities to serve others. And CVs look good on you, that it is a bit selfish thing, but it's not going to make you selfish. When you serve others, it's the biggest joy in life, to see that you make a difference in another person's life. And another thing, volunteering was one way to take courage, and mentoring. So the mentors, which were available in Denmark in different walks of life, they're doing a really great job on that. They really encouraged me. I had several mentors, Nana, Ilyu, Sige, male mentors, not just women, but also male figures, because you need to learn from both sides. You cannot just be on one gender-based mentorship programs. They encouraged me to say things that I was not aware of who I am, that, hey, you're good in communication, you just need to speak up more. And to be up here 10 years ago, I would think unthinkable. And another way I can share is, in 2 weeks, I'll be talking about the same subject in TEDx Helsinki University talks. And that is also one journey that I faced in life, that I needed to believe my own story. Many people have harsher stories, they all have different backgrounds, we come from so many different countries. We're 7 billion people, but if I have been given some talent, and I got to know my talent through volunteering, through serving others, through being on stage, and I just believe that now it's the time that we are unstoppable, and all of us, we need to go out there and through all our walks in science, in media, in arts, in politics, to voice issues that change life. Because without change, without impact, without our passion for things that matter, nothing is going to happen. And I preach dignity because dignity I had issues with dignity. If you have someone who suffers cancer, you will support cancer societies. If you live in an environment where there's no water, you probably will also protect water resources. So find your source of passion, and that's what really drove me to face courage face to face and tackle my inner fears, because this is something I grew up with. And as a young woman, I made a lot of mistakes because I grew up without parents, and you want to have mentors on the way to tell you. But the mistakes are also part of learning the courage lessons. And in the society where mistakes are punishments, or like you don't want to face it, you want to do this Japanese kamikaze, I do encourage young people to make their own mistakes, even though you can learn from the others. But without that, I think we cannot come home to ourselves. And another thing is, as a courage broker and empowering teachers, I say that you don't need to defend each choices that you make. But we often do. I had to defend to my parents why I had to go to Danish Parliament and speak up on others' choices. I had to tell why I was in European Parliament talking about migrant women political participation. She said, what's in it for you? Nobody helped you, why do you need to help others? And that's my own mother, because she just, she was also a survivor. She grew up in an orphanage having both parents. But it's a different perspective on life. So I stopped for defending my own choice. That's just me. That's just my way of living my life. And it took me a good 10 years to fix relationship with my parents. And another way to tell what courage is to involve my parents now that we are having good relationships. They don't hate me, I don't hate them. Is that you bring them along and you actually keep, thank you. You actually keep telling them what you're doing, even though you know that they don't care. You keep telling them, and they will be so proud. So I'll end it with a story just happened 10 days ago. So I left Uzbekistan because I hated the whole system of parents, social control, that I couldn't pluck my eyebrows, I couldn't wear jeans. And I came back 10 years ago to a first Uzbek International Youth Forum. Uzbekistan is changing like India. We're promoting people to move back to Uzbekistan and develop, invest in Uzbekistan. And I had my father present with me at the same kind of setting with 300 young people, and he was proud. Wow. And I think that was the moment where I felt, okay, I actually can have a healthy relationship with my father, and that is a hope to all of you, girls and boys, that we all can be stagnated by our parents sometimes because they're just overprotective, but work on the relationship because his blessing, my mother's blessing, is important to me, even though, regardless, they are our nuclear family. So I hope that with relationship with yourself, self-compassion, and working with relationship with parents, volunteering, mentoring, that will be the foundation to courageous life, and you can taste it more often.
And perhaps they were never happy with the career that they chose in the first place, but they were on a path. They went to university, they studied, and once they got on this path, change can be very difficult to get off that path. Breaking free from security, breaking free from the guilt of disappointing others, or simply not knowing how to find the courage in the first place. Now I can relate to this based on the fact that with no encouragement from my parents in regard to my career, they were from an old-fashioned background of well and truly believing that I was to marry, have children, job well done. But further to this, also career options were limited to so-called women's jobs. Those careers were retail, secretarial, and nursing, and of course I chose dental nursing. It takes courage and a strong sense of self-belief to buck and to do something different, something unexpected, especially when there is absolutely no support. I married young. I quickly fell into motherhood, blessed with 4 boys under the age of 7. At 29, my family was well and truly set. I was financially secure, and life was pretty easy. I was living a relatively mainstream suburban life in the cushion of what was comfortable and quite easy. But then, in the blink of an eye, my marriage dissolved and I became a single mother of 4. I had reached a junction where decisions just had to be made. With no formal higher education and staring completely down the barrel at going back into dental nursing to complicate things, I married my now husband, who had another 4 children. So under the age of 14, just to make life difficult. So what now? Do I go back to my comfort zone of doing a job that's safe? After all, we had 8 sets of school fees, 8 sets of sporting activities, etc., etc. We had child support going out one way, none coming in the other way. Or do I do something for myself and my family? But this would take courage. Do I let life happen to me? Or do I become an active participant and actually take a risk on myself? I was stuck, I won't lie. I had absolutely no idea. I had no confidence or higher school earnings, and I knew I had to take a chance. And it was going to be a risk exploring something new and perhaps a passion. It may not turn into a booming career, but it allowed the possibility of such. So I decided to join a business group, and this was a really big step for me at that particular stage in my life. I met many inspiring people, 3 in particular, who for the very first time in my life saw something in me. They actually thought that I had something special. They insisted I had a gift, a talent, and they saw my flair for personal style and presentation as perhaps being a valuable skill of which the group could all benefit from. Then at a seminar in Las Vegas, one of these special people came up to me and handed me a piece of paper. Now, this is the piece of paper. I just looked at it before and it's looking pretty ratty because I've been carrying this piece of paper around in my purse now for many, many years. And I'll read to you what was written on this piece of paper from this woman. I am business developing, I am articulate, I have so much to offer. I am a dynamo and I can do anything. This note, thank you. This note is a constant reminder of the person that I was, where I was, and what I have achieved today. So, I threw myself in. I studied personal styling. I studied 3 courses in colour. I became an NLP master practitioner. That was hard work. And then my very first talk was in front of 50 men and women at a breakfast. My voice shook. Everything in me absolutely screamed. I was petrified, but I got so much work from that particular talk. But what else did I gain from that particular talk? What else did I gain? Well, it gave me the confidence and courage, and it fueled me to do more. I knew I had something. I made up a brochure, not a brilliant one when I look back on it, but my 4 children and I, we letterbox dropped, and I pounded the pavement, I made lots of calls, I took lots of rejection. It was damn hard. But I kept pushing, and then one day the phone rang. And then I got work. And then from that I got referrals. I was actually good. Does that sound conceited? I was actually good. I was making a difference. It sounds funny when you say that, doesn't it? I was actually making a difference in the lives of so many people. I had a talent and a fire inside me, and it was to prove to my parents, especially my father, that I could succeed, but to myself. I started my very own concept for Australia-wide specialised personal styling consultancy services, and then built my very own company. This was way before Lady Startups and way before social media, before entrepreneurship and women in business were taken seriously. There was no leaning in, no support, and very little promotion and exposure to women in any industry. Furthermore, I was pioneering a never-before-seen or experienced industry in Australia, and I had to believe and introduce services to a country that had never before put too much value on. It takes courage to face a sceptical audience, to be sure my services are valuable and worthy in the face of opposition, as the concept of personal presentation can be a very polarising one. But I stood in my truth. I knew I was making a difference. I wasn't just working on the facade of my clients. I was hard at work shifting the belief system to understand that being beautiful encompasses acceptance of all shapes and sizes, diversity and individuality. I was empowering women to stand in their own truth, to be happy with who they are, what they have, and to be comfortable in their own skin. I surrounded myself with positivity. I made sure that I was with people that bolstered my confidence and helped me to keep kicking goals. And I removed all negative people from my life. I self-educated, I did lots of courses, I soaked up advice from mentors, I took on all feedback, good and bad. I lent on the courage to push through and to keep going. Making financial decisions on what to spend on family versus investment in business, let me just tell you, that's taken sacrifice. However, today I own the one and only shopping centre storefront personal styling suite in Australia and the largest personal styling consultancy in Australia. And I've conducted over 8,000 personal consultations. I still feel extremely nervous. I push myself daily. I commend myself for never giving in, and I continue to be a strong and independent entrepreneurial woman for my children and other women. So where did I find this courage? At first, I'm going to be really honest with you, I think it was definitely to prove to my father that I could succeed, to prove to myself that I had the courage to succeed, and I wanted to be a role model to my children. Now, my father once told me in front of my children a long time ago, he said to me, "Cindy, what a waste of money it was sending you to private school." That's what I had to live with. That aside, I very much needed my children to look at their mother and look at my strength. I think the opposite of courage is conformity, which can often result from giving in to that fear of failure. Fear of failure can be the single largest obstacle stopping you from success. You have to give yourself permission to fail. Everyone makes mistakes, own them. I do. Failure is unavoidable, unavoidable, and necessary to learn from. In my personal styling academy in Australia, I like to teach my students that failure, to call that learnings, call failure learnings, so to put a positive spin on a negative word. Failure is the price of success. Failure is needed as it's one of life's valuable lessons. I will confess to you all, here's my big confession. Coming to speak here in India was a huge challenge for me. I freaked out about a week ago. I lost the plot. And I haven't been very nice to live with the last few weeks. I made the mistake of watching quite a few speakers on the videos from last year and noticed that so many, like the two before me, did not read off cards or notes. So what did I do? I started to compare myself to others. I started to put myself down, and I started to think, I can't even imagine how I'm going to do these 2 talks and getting up on stage to talk to receive an award. It was a phenomenal challenge. I literally got off the plane from facilitating a course, got onto a plane from facilitating a course, and I was pretty tired. But then I thought to myself, you know what? I don't compare myself to others. I never have. Why am I doing it now? And so I've plucked up the courage and I'm reading off my cards, and so what? On my final note, set yourself achievable goals. Go at your own pace. Don't compare yourself to others. Be you. All you need is a little bit of courage to pave the way to success. Thank you so much.
Please give Cindy a big hand. Cindy, I think
Maybe say cheese.
every woman out there, believe me, you have it in you, the courage to do it. Each one of you sitting there. You heard her? She doesn't give a damn what others think. I should have thought of that many years ago too. I'm not given a damn what anybody said. I wish I met you then, Cindy. And you heard her story? Fabulous. God bless you both. Would you like anybody from the audience to share something? To share your story? Each one of you have a journey, don't you? Sitting in the audience here. Each one of you have a journey? Would somebody like to share something with us? Please come here.
I want to ask a question.
Sure. Ask us any questions or
Kamala.
share your story.
Kamala, when
We
you
just
go-
have 15 minutes. You can stay here.
I mean, I kind of identify with when you say you're coming from like not a Western culture basically. It's collectivistic culture, but there's a lot of pressure on the individual by the family, and sometimes you have to get away from them. So all those years when you were staying in a different country, away from your family, of course you miss them. What were your sources of like? What were your coping mechanisms? And who was like? Was it a go-to person? Apart from there's a purpose for sure which drives you, and what helped you in your most difficult times?
Thank you for the question. I did stay in touch with my family, even though it was, as much as energy giving as energy draining. They could not relate to my experiences. And for me, the teachers were there for me, that I could use them as coaches and mentors in some ways. The admission lady from Aarhus Business College, we were the first international line in Denmark, and so they had a special relationship to us. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm an admission lady, you're just one of the students. So I could rely on their network, and then the mentoring programs came out. So I jumped right in, even though I was nervous, like, is she gonna like me? What is the expectations? Like, what's supposed to be fulfilled? So the friends were there, which were on the same age, but I needed the go-to person which was older, so I wouldn't compare and we wouldn't be like too ambitious over each other, stepping on each other's feet. So the older persons, I met them in different walks of life. There was a professor, there was a lady from IBM, she was my mentor of communications in charge. Then there was a lady who was my colleague later in life, because you need different kind of people that you can go to, because you need love and unconditional love when you're growing up. And the coping mechanism was stand-up comedy. I love comedy, humor, it elevates me. I need to see, and the comedy, we would go out, there was of course music, dances, all the soothing things, but really needed to get yourself busy. And in Europe, we had all kinds of student jobs, I did everything from cleaning to bartender, but it allowed us to travel. So to travel and explore and stay humble to yourself. So thank you.
Would you like to share your story with us, your own personal journey? Anybody would like to share? Would you like to talk from there? Anybody? Anybody? But just for 2 minutes. We don't have much time.
I'm a seed victim, one of them. My
Would you like to
journey
come
was
here
very
and talk or
difficult. Here from here.
I would really like you to come.
She's just lacking confidence. Bring her
Yeah.
on.
Well, this lady spoke to me yesterday.
This one person.
Yeah. Please start.
Yeah, I'm an acid victim since 20 years. My journey was so difficult.
Why don't you come here, ma'am?
And what you courage to success, that means a lot to me, because in this during this journey I see many things. Beauty for the woman is the first quality. Whatever inner beauty is not important, what you look, that's very important, and this is truth. We can't deny it. And from then, that time I learned that I have to be a person. Don't worry about people what to say to me. Just stand on your feet and go out and show the world what I am.
Why don't you tell us your story?
So, very small story, so I'm a little bit not very confident in speaking in English, but I'll try to explain you. See, I'm a chartered accountant and my brother is a doctor. So we are 2 children of our parents, and when my mother last year fell ill, and I expected my brother to take care of her, and he admitted her to his hospital.
and I saw my mother that you need, courage every time, and I am a successful executive in my company and earning very good. So, but you need courage every time. So my brother admitted my mother to his hospital, and I saw her falling day by day. Every day she was, sinking down, and I asked my brother that what's happening to her, not knowing anything in medical, and he said that no, she is sinking down, and no. So I saw very, kind of a, he was not very positive. So I thought, being a doctor, he is not positive, so I need to have a courage to take her out from his hospital and to take her to another hospital without knowing anything. So I decided after a week's time when she was falling down, and so I took her out, and in my own car, with my father and mother sitting behind me in my car, and I took her to the hospital in Noida. I got her admitted in the ICU. And I was worrying because my cousins were saying, if she died, so you will take the onus because you are not a doctor. I said, I have to go. I can't see my mother dying down here, and my brother is telling me, she may die. And she started recovering, and after 15 days I took her back to her home, and I stayed there with her for another month's time and doing my job also. Coming back, and which was 2 hours away from my place, and I went to her place every night, come back to the office, then again going, and I saved her.
That's a great story. Just before we
Same happened
have
this
her
year.
speak for 1 minute for me.
Yeah, just for the last thing.
Yeah, tell us.
So this year the same happened, but I lost her recently last month, and that never happened again. So, but every woman needs courage at any point of time, whatever you are. Maybe you are very successful executive or whatever you are. So it is within you. You have to, sometimes you have to take it out and show to the world that you can do it, even if you are not a doctor.
What's
even
your
if you
name,
are not
ma'am?
successful.
What's your name?
Binu.
Binu. Give Binu a big hand. We have just a few minutes left, but I would like one of the men in this room. I'm grateful to the men who have come here. My book is dedicated to my husband. And the title of my book is Have You Eaten? And do you know why this title? If you take 1 second. When my husband came back paralyzed from Africa and I was working, I used to come home every night at 12 o'clock. As I mentioned, fingers were pointed at me. But my husband never asked me 4 W's, where were you, why are you late, what were you doing, or who were you with. Every night he opened the door for me. The only question he asked me was, have you eaten? The trust my husband had in me is dedicated to my husband, and I believe in life, a man and a woman together can conquer the world. We need the help of a man, and I don't believe in men bashing. I think a man and a woman, the support they can give each other can synergize the whole world. I would like to request one of the men to say a couple of lines, and then you, ma'am, and then we close with that. Yes, sir, would you, or would you? Lakshman, and you would like to talk? She'll talk, and by the time you frame your question, your answer. Make up your mind. Make up your mind. But I absolutely insist.
Yeah. I am from a very medium family, and 32 years back I go for my love marriage and intercaste marriage, and at that time I was very beautiful, and that
Still are quite
and that beauty is a big curse for me, because my mom-in-law never accepted me, and my sister-in-laws, and they have took away my children and asked my husband to leave her.
Kids are there with you. That's the best support you have.
Please give her a big hand.
Good afternoon. Good morning. When with courage and have reached this platform, I just want to say one thing is, Sister Gaurav Shubha. I met her when I was totally broken. And I went through several stages of life that she went through. We met at New Year's, and she said certain things to me. I was abandoned when I was young. I should not have been born. I was the fourth girl. My grandmother took me under her wing, taught me all about plants, which is what I am today. I'm an advocate for trees. So I faced the kind of
Romaine is a great human being. She's protecting all the trees, the environment. Mother Nature is happy because of her. Mother Nature is grateful to you, Romaine, and you were born into this world with a reason. And believe me, and you will.
Thanks, sir.
And that will be
Well, there's not I haven't said anything yet.
We're happy that you are here.
I'm here supporting my wife, and together we run the business. And what was said before, that together, men and women together, achieve a lot. And while coming to this forum, I've been humbled amongst all these fantastic women, and I didn't expect to be standing here and talking. I thought I'd be able to just go under the radar and sit at the back. But I've just got to say that some of the talks that I've heard has really humbled me, and I think the magnificent women and the courage that I've seen from you all is just fantastic to see.
We have 2 minutes more. Who's the timekeeper, ma'am? Who's the timekeeper here? Who? We have a few minutes more. Can she come? Please. Every single person sitting here, please get out of this room and remember you have it in you. You have the courage in you. Don't give up. You heard that lady there? What's your name, ma'am?
Upasana.
Yeah. You heard her story. You heard her story. You heard Cindy's story. A little bit of mine, Romaine's story. You heard the gentleman. You have it. Don't give up in life. Will you promise me that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
What's your name?
Actually, I want to say something about your story, and this is related to what you said about your parents. You know, you've been brought up without parents, more or less. I mean, my story is a little similar, but I really didn't have any parents, so they gave me some values, and they showed me love, how really love is. And then from 13 onwards, I was on my own. And I think it sounds very, of course, sad, and I can't put this in words, being without parents, but it's also a great opportunity. And the second thing you said, humor. And I think this kept me also alive, despite fitness and sports. That was, my first university degree, which I took. I think when we don't forget to love about whatever it is, I think you survive everything. So when you know, this is like self-entertaining, I would say. Thanks.
The final one line from all three of us.
Yeah.
And anyone in the audience, one final line? Just to stand up and say you feel motivated after hearing this. Any one person? Put up your hand.
I think it's the journey.
All those who are motivated, put up your hands, please. All of you?
All of us.
All of you?
Yes.
I think you owe us all three a big hand.
I didn't know that we will have such a heartfelt discussion, and it really melts my heart to be together here with you. And it shows that we women not each other's enemy, but we're each other's soul sisters.
Yes.
And I said it at the plenary session that whatever we do, I want to make sure that we make a life of a girl so that nobody wants to be a boy. That's how I felt. So let's do that.
I guess my parting note would be that I'm just sorry for everybody else that didn't attend this session.
Spread the word.
I honestly think that the stories, the emotion, I honestly feel that these are beneficial subjects that we will really go away from and really think about and will make a difference in our lives. So thank you all for being here and putting up with my cards.
I'd like to bring this session to a close. I'd especially like to thank Camila and Cindy. We missed another speaker. I'd like to especially thank the audience, especially those. A big hand to the audience, please. I've never had such a wonderful audience in my life. Having you all here actually brought goose pimples in my hand. I don't know if any of you got it. And I'd like to tell you all, if any of you at any time in life feel rejected and feel this is the end of the world, just call me. Take down my number. Please come. Can you all have a picture together? Please come. We'll all have a picture together.
Excuse me. The dead is silent.
Smile, please.